thought I'd done everything to make you happy. Because that's a natural water. It sits on the pack the same way it sits on the
and she makes it.
I'm actually loading
Feel the what? Feel the what? Withdraw your runner. Fire! Shoot! Up! We're going to give you a bit of a safety note. Remember, his average service was between 7 and 15 years. Right, so there you go.
If it was like our social media stuff,
You've got to get me.
You should know the password, that's your... It's a good guess.
Okay.
It's all a show.
That's true. Yeah.
We go through this door, there's a glass wall. Well, we were a bit like, what is going on? But because one of our group had been sick on the other one, we were like, possibly. And we go through these doors, and our last set of doors we did last week, glass wall here. They also do. And both of us looked at each other and went, but we got out of both of them. We did developers, I did the entire development, and I looked at Paul, and he was like, yeah, I was amazed you didn't say, yeah, let's go back. I was waiting for you to say, let's go back, and I was like, I was waiting for you to say, let's go back. So we both guilted each other into going up this roller coaster. Yeah.
I couldn't see it was right, and it's like it's my fault. So look, sorry, I'm not taking responsibility for this. I know you're probably annoyed if it's not right, but it's not my fault. So I was waiting for the breaches, because the breaches were like, really careful French.
Yeah.
We do the colored Prussian.
Right,
The Prussians were very German. And then we do some medieval, but not very much anymore. What the hell do you even call that, honestly? It's hot. It's a hot fire.
You get them special things that they used to hang up and they used to put
Yeah. So our tree is absolutely full of apples, and I brought them along, so this can happen.
Really? How does that taste? So you can just place it over and push it right in. Yeah.
Feel the what? Feel the what? Gauche, gauche, droit, gauche, gauche, droit, gauche. Halt! Portez, mon homme. Section, à droite. Halt. Alignement à gauche. En avant, marche. Halt. Right. Right. Section about. Quick. Back. Left. Right. Left. Right. Left. Right. There. What's the matter with the trail? Slow. Slow.
Fire. You just hot boxing tennis.
I bought some rum, I bought a garlic and an onion.
To mix in with your tobacco Malone.
And some like coffee beans, and I was over the moon. And also 2 sandwiches that cost £4 each. I could really
How are we going to grind these beans?
Anyway, I think we should get that. I thought I'd done everything to make you happy, and it just.
See ourselves.
Well, I think.
Yeah, we're the truth.
Stay there. Close the door.
Over here, like Baron Linden.
Left face. Gauche. Portez vos armes. Right, good afternoon everybody. Oh, thanks very much. Right, I'll try and speak up as loud as I can. Unfortunately, I'm suffering from a cold, so if the voice goes, I'll start waving and doing hand signals. What we're going to go through today, as a brief little display, is to show you the different types of soldiers from the Revolutionary War. And remember, at 2:30 today, we are doing a skirmish down on the Meadow. So to show you the tactics that we used at the time when the troops were fighting in America. What we've got represented for you today is pretty much the major sort of troops of the period. So we start off with me, myself. I am a militiaman, so I basically come from my farm to defend the local area. We also have a rifleman, so he was a very important part of the American forces. We also have a later line soldier, say for the American forces. We also have our French allies, who will do a little introduction and display for themselves. And then lastly, to conclude the display, we have the British Army. So they will also demonstrate the kit that they've got and the types of weapon that they use, the drill of loading and everything. Now before we start, I will give a warning that we will be firing our muskets, and these are loud, so if you do have young children who are nervous or animals, please keep them on a lead, because we don't want them sort of, running off into the distance and you chasing after them. So that's a final bit of warning.
Hello, I'm a rifleman of the 1st Pennsylvania Regiment. We were formed up in the early part of the war. So our main weapon is the rifles, which come in many forms. This one here is a Jaeger rifle, which is a German-made rifle. It's quite a bit shorter than a lot of the rifles of the period. It's rifled because it has grooves in the barrel, which makes the ball more accurate. So when you're loading with a lead ball and using a patch or like a piece of fabric, shoes. Also my water bottle, this one's made of leather, so that's quite practical. It won't dent. It's a lot easier. So first of all, go to half cock. So half cock is like safety, so if I pull the trigger it will not fire. Pull up the cartridge, cut the top off. So if you're going to join the army, it's good to have your 2 front teeth. So I'm just priming the pan, close the pan, pouring the rest. So I've got someone wandering in. Hello?
He's going to fire.
Continental soldier, the line soldier. We are also armed with flintlock muskets, but our muskets are smoothbore, they're not rifled. This aids us if we can fire more shots a minute than the rifleman. So our aim is to put as much lead down the field towards the British as we can. We fight shoulder to shoulder like the British do. So in lines, 2 ranks deep. Now I'm dressed basically in my clothes that I would have worn from home. So I've got my linen coat, waistcoat, breeches. So I'm not wearing any part of a uniform. The only military thing I've done is cut my tricorn hat down, taking the brim off, basically to make it more handy. So when I'm handling the musket, I'm not hitting my hand. That's the only thing I've done. Procedure, and then fire our muskets for you, so you can see the difference between us and the rifleman. Soldier, okay? Prepare for the firing exercise. Poise your firelock. Prime your firelock. Open your pan. Handle your cartridge. Bite your cartridge. Prime your pan. Close your pan. Cast about your firelock. Charge your firelock. Withdraw your rammer. Put away your rammer. Shoulder your firelock. Now that was the training that we cock your firelocks. Take aim. Fire! And now we're going to introduce our French allies.
Bonjour, mes amis! I hope you are having a brilliant day. I will drop the French accent for your sanity. Plot twist, I'm not really French. Right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the French army in this period. It's an interesting time for the French. They've just lost the 7 Years' War against the British, and that is awful for them. They are very proud. So, the French military introduces a lot of reforms leading up to the American War of Independence. So in 1776, they make some massive changes. The Prussians, who had won the 7 Years' War, the French essentially tried to copy their style. They cut the coats very short in a more practical way. This would be great if the French weren't so proud. And we find that the French regiments say, nah, we're not doing that. And they keep their old coats because they like them and they look better. So what we see is those adaptations from 76 don't stick, but some of the important parts do. So for instance, the French musketry, there's a real attempt to standardise the weapons. And to understand the gravity of how big this is, you have to remember this is pre-industrialisation. So they are trying to make, you have a musket with a large pointy stick on the end. It makes this rather obsolete. But it is a nice distinguishing factor. We will now go through our firing procedure. Capra?
For those who aren't aware, you probably won't be, the French rank system, the junior officer, the non-commissioned officers, is worn on the forearms. None of this weird nonsense. Sergeant du temps, chargez vos armes. We come to that position. Ouvrez le bassinet. Prenez la cartouche. Déchirez. Amorcez. Fermez le bassinet. L'arme à gauche. You see the vestiges of the old system. Cartouche dans le canon. Now I'm going to say something funny. It's not funny. Tirez la baguette. For those who aren't aware, baguette in French means stick. That's why the bread is called that. What you to fire is they would give you the full order, which is apprêtez vos armes, prepare your weapon. En jeu, take aim. Feu. In battle though, like the militia, that's quite complicated. So instead the order would simply be, have a care, arm, jeu, feu.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, none of this nonsense, no froggies, no rebels. This is the British Army. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you hear me? Yes. Right, so my name is Sergeant Crabtree. I'm a platoon sergeant in the British Infantry Battalion, His Majesty's 33rd Regiment of Foot. This is a private soldier, Private Malloy. We are your local regiment. We then are the antecedents of what became the Duke of Wellington's regiment and now the Royal Yorkshire Regiment. But in the wars in America, there were no finer regiments in the British Army than the 33rd. They were known as the pattern of which to be copied, the pattern of which to be emulated. Under the command of the Earl Cornwallis, the 33rd covered itself in glory in America in over 8 years of fighting. Now, Mr. Malloy, just march round so the ladies and gentlemen can see, please. You will see the private as he marches round. He is dressed in campaign order for America. On his hat, he wears the cocked hat there on his head. Instead of breeches, we wear gaitered trousers. These were actually cut from tents in America to make it more practical for fighting. Every aspect of the soldier's life is carried in these. Your whole life is carried within the knapsack. After the skirmish this afternoon, if you want to come into the camp and have a look at the contents, please feel free to do so. He is armed with the Shortland pattern and of cartridge. So he takes the cartridge out of the cartridge pouch. He bites the top off, and very similar, as has been explained, it's a paper tube with powder and ball. Prime. So the powder is poured in. Shut pans. musket is then cast about. Load with cartridge. Powder and the ball is placed down as you've seen before. Withdraw. Run. Run down. Is it? Fire!
To give you an idea of what it was like when more than one musket fired at a time, we're going to load the muskets and we're going to fire a volley. Now remember that each regiment would have several hundred people in firing at the same time. This is only 6. So to just finish, we'll load up and fire our volley. Our display. Please remember we're doing our skirmish in the Meadow, which is down at the bottom of the see the tactics being put into practice and see who wins, the British or the Americans. Welcome you to the summer, nice and hot, of 1778. We are in Virginia, so you've got to use your imagination. Get rid of the sound of the M62, get rid of the pylons, they're not there, they haven't been invented yet. So we need to use your imagination to take you back in time. Now where we are is actually near the James River. So if you can imagine, we're in the valley. James River is down there. It's a river you can bring your ships up. The city of Richmond is where Bradford is. And this is a very important place for the Americans because this area is one of the areas where they raise a lot of cash crops. We actually grow tobacco, we grow cotton in this area, which we can sell internationally to raise money for our war effort. Now the British, they want to stop us doing that. So what they do is a series of raids coming up the river and coming up the valley and burning the farms. Now Oakwell Hall itself, this weekend, is the Bat Plantation. So if you know the local history, the Bat family hold Oakwell Hall. They were ruined by the Civil War, the English Civil War, and a lot of the family went to America to start again. And they founded the Bat Plantation outside Richmond, Virginia, above the James River. It was raided by the British, and this is what we're going to see today. Now, Captain Bat, at the time, because the family had been in America now for about 50 years, he was a naturalised American. So when it came to choose what side he was going to be in the war, he decided on choose the American side. So he became Captain Bat of the American militia, and he commanded a militia company. Now the militia are what I'm dressed like. So I'm in my normal clothes from home, but I've got an issue musket, I've got a cartridge pouch, I've got a bayonet. But I'm expected to turn out from home when the British or our enemies are in the area, which is what we've done. We've been called out to try and defend the Bat Plantation area. Luckily, we've got some of our allies, which is the French, who have just come into the war with us. They've been supplying us with arms and equipment, but now they are here in force themselves. And we have a small detachment of professional soldiers. Now remember, the militia, we're not professional, we're part-time. Really, if I could avoid this war completely, that would be good. But our officers know that. They know that our morale is not great, our training is not great. So which is why they've deployed some regular French to give us some backbone, because they think that's going to help us fight better. And that's the plan. Now we know from reports there are some British in the area, and they're either coming to raid the plantation or they're a straggling party on their way up to the main column, which we know's upriver. So our plan is that we're going to hide out in the bushes, in the trees, and as they come up, we're going to ambush them. And we're going to try and wipe them out and capture them. And capture their equipment and their muskets, because we're short of these and we need some more equipment. So that's our plan. So of course, if you see any British, don't say we're here. No. Now I'll give you a little talk by our French colleague, just to give you a bit of an introduction about what they're doing.
Well, I mean, the French, as my learned, esteemed militiaman colleague has said, the French were heavily supplying the Americans. The 18th century is a bit like a game of chess between the British and the French, and they keep trying to find ways to annoy each other. And let's do that and do that and do that and do that and take this colony and attack there. And the American Revolution, really, as a Frenchman, as an average French person, I have more in common with the redcoat than I do with the American. But we don't like them, enemy of my enemy and all that. And so the French government decided, you know what's going to really annoy the British? If they lose America. We've already taken bits of America off us during the 7 Years' War, the French and Indian War. So the French government starts sending money, and it starts off small and becomes very big. They end up being joined by the Spanish. The first couple of years, they end up sending just shy of 7 million livres, which is not a small amount of money. They also send equipment, they send uniforms and weapons, and by 1778, it's become very clear that the British are not winning this. And the French decide, well, let's just do it properly, why not? And they send soldiers over. They send soldiers from Saint-Domingue, from Haiti, the Caribbean, and they also send fresh soldiers over from France. And this backbone of professional soldiers who are trained. They are volunteers, but they are trained soldiers. The training regime was very intense. They were equipped well. They were aware of what they were going into. They were by no means experienced in the way the British, maybe the Americans certainly were, but they brought a professional streak to the American French army. But when they got to sieges, ambushes, big line warfare, they were ready for it. And the French, to their credit, did say they didn't like guerrilla warfare. They didn't like the idea of ambushing. They felt it was unsporting. Because it is, isn't it, really? If you can't see the guy, that's a bit mean. But they happily indulged, and particularly in the trenches, trench warfare around sieges, they were really useful because they brought engineers and artillery and men experienced in this form of warfare. So what we're going to do as French soldiers is, we're happy to ambush, sure, but we want to get stuck in, really. We're grenadiers. I've got a sabre, a bayonet, and a nice red plume to show that I'm scary. So I'm hoping we can get stuck in as soon as we can, but we'll have to see, really, won't we?
Oh, yeah, we'll be behind you. All the way. So, before we start, as you say, we're going to give you a bit of a safety note. Remember, just...
Yay for the British!
Go all the way. Again? All the way down. Are we stopping? It is down. I'm sure we'll in a minute. Oh, they're trying to get over.
You go there. Thank you. There you go, Will. You can see now. Oh, you're all right there.
Stay on the edge of it.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the treacherous rebels and their French allies, I'm going to introduce you to a small section of His Majesty's forces, typical of the British redcoat in America. Order! So we're representing a detachment of soldiers that have been into the rear of the army, who are now straggling behind, picking up those that have been wounded or sick in hospital, which has happened quite frequently in America. And we, for this scenario, are heading back to the main column. So you can see the men predominantly from 33rd Regiment, and we picked up 2 comrades from His Majesty's 22nd Regiment. And it's a nice view, you can see the difference on the uniforms. 33rd have red, all red, fine, and his average service was between 7 and 15 years. These are not conscripts. The British Army are not, I repeat, not conscripts. They are a professional body of soldiers. Every man who fought in America wanted to be there. He joined and then took the chance. The Army gave a very lucrative and prosperous career, provided, of course, you're not caught in war at the time. When the war broke out in America, the argument forward, and we will carry the King's argument for him, if needs be, at the point of the bayonet, and give these moaning, whinging colonials a good lesson. So let's not forget that. So it's a very, very unpopular war, because it's seen we're not fighting Americans, we are fighting fellow British subjects, and that's the key with it. Cruel irony of the war. So we're going to go forth now and bid you all farewell. We're going to get back to the column. Have you seen any rebels at all? No? Yes? Yes? Have you seen any rebels? No! Have you seen any rebels? Take you at your word. And God help you if you're lying. Right, section, parade, shoulder, up.
The girl.
Switch there. Arms easy, boys.
Well, you keep watching. See what happens.
Okay, ladies, are you all right?
Oh, they're actually coming out of the trees now. Finally! Imagine when the Brontes hit you in the face. Why are you I know what this is doing now.
Why are you going to all this time?
There you go, go quietly.
Why is it one guy's on?
It's got more.
Give us a cheer! Shall we finish them off? Right side, ready! Gentlemen of that, quick, fire!
I need to borrow your scarf. Ty's ready. They're starting again.
Amanda.
So what? Oh, let's going to see if we can find any loot.
Right, so there you go. Let that be a lesson. Like any typical American rebel, they've run away because they don't like the bayonet. It's never. This rebel was actually born in Warwickshire, but he actually emigrated to America. So this is what I was saying to you before, is that we are not fighting Americans. He is a British subject, and he's now rightfully sorry, aren't you? Yeah. So let's have a big round of applause for everybody. Skirmish you might have seen in America in 1780. We'll invite you please to, once we've left the site, go into our respective camps, please do come and pay us a visit, talk to the soldiers, come and examine some of the arms and the equipment that we carry. It's the and then you can learn a little bit more about the subject, the period, which is not very often taught these days, and about an army we've forgotten about. Nearly 25,000 British soldiers served in America, but because we lost America, it was deemed a dishonour. So these men were forgotten. In fact, our battalions now, we're not even allowed to carry our battle honours and our regimental colours from America. It's a great dishonour. It's which even today smarts with us greatly in some regiments. So thank you very much for your time. Please do, as I say, do come along. Do speak to the French. They don't smell too much. And please again, the British were camped separately, just over onto one side. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Regular green. No. Green. What?
Sections on a bed. The section forward. Quick step. Through the gap, watch the wire. Take them out, call, and work the way we came into the field. And a big round of applause for the ladies as well. And the rebellious rebels! Vive le roi!
I would have stayed dead, but I have a vintage Bordeaux waiting for me.
Not a bit like
That'll hit there, and then hopefully your sparks go down, that ignites. So in theory, provided the fuse is good and it's got a good edge gun to it, the powder's not too wet. I was going to say, when it's ready. If it really hammers down, so they're just cleaning them up. So typically anything you see now, so troops in America, our regiment, the real regiment, actually lost more to do with the heat and the disease in America than they did in battle. Yeah. So in South Carolina and North Carolina and West Yorkshire, it's different parts of England, but they just weren't used to the things in the Carolinas.
And on his back, he has a knapsack which carries everything else that you might need. It's covered in goat hair, or goat skin in this case. So it basically acts as a natural water repellent. It sits on the pack the same way it sat on the late departed goat that supplied it. And you see he's got lots of useful additions as well. It's a small kettle, it's got a hatchet. If you want to make a cup of tea in the morning, what's the first thing you do? Cut the kettle. What's the first thing we do? Get the axe. Because you need to make a fire. That's the best way to get some wood and kindle and throw it. Inside there it'll have spare stockings, spare shirts, spare neck, some cleaning items, personal grooming items, and other bits and pieces. So it opens up like a big multi-compartment. All the very useful stuff. So that's basically, and in various ways the British soldier is basically carrying this at all times. You'll see
if you were in England, the army, you ate very well. You probably ate better than you would have as a common labourer. So the army was quite a good choice for men to join. In America, then the rations that were given, again, dependent, seasonal. Remember, we've got a supply route of 3,000 miles. So ships have to come in and bring a lot of rations over. So typically, if you can get fresh bread, which is great, usually the soldier in America is issued with this stuff. So it's a hard army biscuit. Which is baked 3 times. It came in bundles of 10, and they were issued to the men in lieu of acquiring fresh bread. Now, fresh bread obviously had to be bought. It's locally. The policy is you don't annoy the locals. You pay for everything. So I've got salt pork, or I've got some smoked sausage, apples, maybe some local cheese. They'd supplement it with potatoes, sweet potatoes, or if it's really, really bad, flour, which you would just mix in and to make it simple. So the pottage or stew, you probably see the camp kettle over there near the tent. So one of those camp kettles was between 1 and every 5 men. In the knapsack, I've got all my spare shirts, stockings, wool stockings, gaiters, wool gloves. It's the cleaning equipment, which is kept separate. So that is what we call black ball. So black ball is a combination of blackened bone or charcoal mixed with lanolin and beeswax, and you make it into a solid ball like this, and it's a polish basically. You rub this into your back, or you heat it up and rub it into your leatherwork, particularly the pouch and your shoes as well. You have a blacking ball, and a blacking brush, so to try and keep that separate. I've got a button stick and a buffing stick. It's the which is just here, which is the cleaning of the buttons and any metalwork. It's there, and a small button brush. You just see there, and you mix in. They were given a portion of like a lard, to describe it. Again, it's lanolin and beeswax, and you mix this in with brick dust as an abrasive. It's there. That's used to polish it, particularly on fire. So all that is kept separate in the front pouch, just here. It's there, and then your clothes obviously will be later, so they're carried. Sometimes you left clothes on board ship or inside the garrison. It depends on, but generally in America they had to carry everything with them. So it's a huge weight. And again, if any of you have been to the States in the summer, it's and witnessed the heat in America. As I mentioned earlier, more men died of heat exhaustion and disease than they did of enemy action. So it's quite a task really, and when you start to read the accounts, as I say, you get a much better appreciation of it. So, who wants to join? And it's a big thing in America. So next year it starts 1775, 2025. So there's big celebrations, and there's little bits and pieces here in the UK as well. And then of course we then follow the progress of the war from 1775 upwards. The 33rd, they went from Ireland in 1776. They were over to America, and then they stayed there until they eventually all came back to Britain in 1783. Having tramped literally all over the North American subcontinent, and took part in 16 of the biggest and most vicious engagements in America, and that included the women and children as well. We've got in Ireland Christmas Eve 1776, 43 women and 17 children left on board the ship with the battalion, and they went out, and we know virtually all the original women came back 8 years later, but the kids had exploded. There was double the amount of kids. And then there was more women. A lot of men married American women, and they were brought back as well. So we're very keen to show all the stories. And just the hardships that a lot of the women had to go by. So again, women, the battalion, and even children. The battalion is the family, and that is the key, the real key thing, that they looked after each. If she was widowed, the army would see safe passage back to her home parish. And pay for her and her children, or she had the choice to remarry very quickly. And quite often soldiers would make a pact with their pals, say, if I get killed, will you look after her? And then so sometimes these marriages were of convenience, purely because she then stayed on and got she was entitled to a full ration. A child under 12 got half ration, and then when it reached 12, then they got the full ration for it. So it's all part of the. We try to emphasise that it's not just about soldiers. You've got to see everybody's story, and that includes the woman's story, because if you ignore women's contribution, you ignore 50% of history. So it's those tales that we have to tell in each measure. So, and they made quite a good living. So if you want to go and have a Mrs. Badger, laundresses, because and she makes a bloody fortune out of it. It's the to be honest with you, because out of the pay is 6p per week is deducted from all men's wages, and it goes to the laundresses.
Yeah, but I've got to buy the soap.
You've got to buy them. all that's what she keeps telling us. It's but all the things, it's cleanliness is really important in the 18th century. They're not dirty people. You know, it's not good if you keep dirty. So the British Army, at least, your linens have to be changed on a Wednesday and a Sunday. And that's so from a company level down to a platoon level. As a sergeant, I would have to make sure all those shirts are with the inside laundresses. Everything is accounted for. The washing, she's received the money. My captain then asks me, and it's all accounted for. So it's a full-on system. And that continues over in America as well. They didn't take all women, as I say, of the 40 odd. They chose by there was 6 women per company that were allotted that could go with the battalion. So it was literally drawn by lot to see if they go, but they were very much, you know, a party parcel of
tubs. This is obviously the travelling laundry, and there'd be a bigger tub so everything would soak overnight, and then rinsing. Stuff, so you've got the washboard and varying soaps and things like that. So they would soak in soap overnight, or you could do another soak in something there is a ready supply of, bleaches things beautifully, and I don't know if anyone can guess. No, it's natural. There's a camp full of men.
Our tree is absolutely full.
I thought I'd done everything to make you happy.
Close the door. It goes out as a natural water repellent. It sits on the pattern centre. It's
laundresses, because and she makes it.
Actually, loading. Feel the what? Feel the what?
Service was between 7 and 15 years. Right, so there you go.